Hello, my fellow phone flinging enthusiasts. This is Andrew, aka Dark Sweep, and welcome to another episode of the Foam Zone. This is going to be a very interesting episode. This is kind of a last second improvised episode that we're going to be doing here, but should be a lot of fun. If this is your very first time joining us here on the Foam Zone is a bi weekly live streaming show exclusively on the World Foam Alliance YouTube channel where we interview a guest throughout the hobby and our very special community, whether it be club admins, HVZ players, organizers, anyone, designers, anyone that has anything to do with the hobby. We'd love to have them on the show and talk shop with them. So if that's something you're interested, you have a club or you're a designer or you're just interested in being on the show, go ahead and hit us up, and we'd love to share our passion for foam flinging with everyone. So in case you have not done so already, please give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to register yourself and your club or whomever on the worldfoamalliance.org website. We are currently in the discussion of doing a overhaul with the website and making sure all the functions are up to date and adding some new features. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, so a couple of house cleaning notes. I know that End War is coming up this weekend. So first of all, yeah, happy 4th of July weekend to everyone. Whether if you're spending it at home or out on vacation, or if you're lucky enough to travel to End War. One of the reasons we were considering not doing the show this evening was because we are actually in Denver, or I'm in Denver, at the Fan Expo doing with Dart Zone. We have a booth here. So if you are in the Denver area, please stop on by the Fan Expo. We are booth 207, I believe, 20 something. Anyways, we're right there. But we would love to see you. Stop on by, and we have some fun surprises if you're able to stop and join us and say hi for a second. Let's see. Yeah, End War is this weekend, so that's going to be exciting. Looking forward to seeing all the photos and videos that are coming from that. I know Wormy and the UNCC mod team have been working extremely hard since last year, as well as Drac. So that should be fun. And I've just been told that 203 is the booth number for Dart Zone at the Fan Expo if you want to visit us. But we're right on the corner where the autographs for the celebrities are going to be signed. So stop on by, say hi to us, and I guarantee you will be happy. We have a fun little surprise for you to check out. So yeah, End War is coming up. I know that Kale's Flag Dash tournament is the following weekend, along with Armageddon out on the West Coast. So definitely check that out if you are available. It's 300 FPS all day long, as well as a pro Flag Dash tournament. So we had Kale on with Basic Nerf last week with Captain Xavier and Al the Geek to discuss that. So if you want more information about that, check out that episode. So that should be going on next weekend. And then I know APOC and BPOC are coming up for the Uno guys and the TNT crowd up in the Jersey, New York, and Connecticut area. So that is the first weekend of August. I think it's August. Oh gosh, I forget. But first weekend of August. First Saturday is going to be 300 FPS on Cousins Paintball Field. Tons of fun. You don't need a 300 FPS blaster to compete. You could play Jedi and just melee the entire day if you really want to, or jolt it, but a lot of fun. Highly recommend you come out to APOC. And then BPOC, hosted by our good friends at TNT Events, the number one casual tournament around. This is for no marbles whatsoever, just for fun. But last year was a lot of fun. I think there was 12 teams that competed, and so looking forward to another fun turnout tournament this year at BPOC. So again, first weekend of August. That will be happening. And then the ABC, Atlanta Blaster Club, Josh, Hankin, and Beth down in the Atlanta area are hosting their fundraiser tournament event, weekend event, I believe. So stay tuned for more information for that. We'll have them on the show at some point and get you all the information for that. But yeah, so this is going to be a little weird show because, like I said, we just arrived into Denver. We set up the Dart Zone booth. We got a fancy new inflatable. We're super excited to showcase and try out. But we set that all up, got the inventory all stocked up and everything, so we're ready to go. Bright and early tomorrow. I think 9:30 for VIP and 10 o'clock is general public. So super excited. And then of course it's July 4th weekend, so it's going to be a whole fun weekend of celebrating. So and I hope everyone has a great weekend. But as a result, I was a little pressed to find a guest, and luckily, graciously enough, Captain Xavier, our very good friend, has stepped up and volunteered to join us here on the Foam Zone. But not only here on the Foam Zone, but also with us here in Denver. And as you can see, the good captain is enjoying his rest at the moment. Captain Xavier, how goes it? You've been ratted out.
What do you want? What? Oh, God.
So we have...
the air is
Captain
thin and I have not been fed. That's how it's going.
Right. So we thought we would just kind of just hang out for a little bit. And if you guys want to call in and talk to either myself or Captain Xavier, probably more likely, go ahead and give us a ring and we'll just kind of make this a casual stream today. But I guess just to get us started. What?
Walking through frame.
Oh, we'll get the phone number up and ready. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or anything like that, go ahead and shoot those down in the live chat comment. Or even better yet, if we got a super chat going on, let's go ahead and get that started. But yeah, so we just thought we'd hang out and just talk to everyone. But as you can see, Captain Xavier barely has pants on at this moment. Ready for nap time. But that's right. So yeah, I guess just to get us started, since I've never had you on the show formally, although we have met a few times in person at this point. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people about yourself for anyone that, for whatever reason, may not know who Captain Xavier is.
So I'm Captain Xavier. I build fancy Nerf blasters. I review Nerf blasters. I hunt zombies. I run events. I do stuff.
That's right.
That's
right. And you're hailing from the Pacific Northwest, which is really becoming it's really taking off with the blaster scene over there.
Yeah, we've got a ridiculously high pedigree of nerfers up there. We've got me, we've got Out of Darts, we've got Silver Fox, we got Flux, we got Walcom, we got Brandon Diaz, Kale, King of Games is now up there.
Games is up there, right?
Jankmeister, the Nerf Curator, Sergeant Deplorable. We got everybody up here.
You got all the good ones. Good company. So
Tony Dog is up here. Luchathor is up here.
Who is it?
Tony Dog, Luchathor.
Oh yeah, that's right, Luchathor. Yeah, Jose. Yep. They're all up there. Yeah, good company. I'm jealous. You have when you host blaster battles, all those guys end up showing up, which is like that's pretty crazy. I thought we were fancy when we had you guys show up to Maryland Mayhem, but we just need to move Mayhem out to the Pacific Northwest. Is really what it sounds like.
Someday we will get a big event in the Pacific Northwest, and if we're lucky, we'll be able to hold it at one of the old naval forts, like Fort Worden or Fort Flagler. We'll be hunting zombies in old World War I bunkers and tunnels dug into the coast of the Puget Sound.
That's right. Very cool. Well, inquiring minds want to know, how did this all start for you? How did you get into this? How did you end up here?
I got into Nerf through Humans versus Zombies at the University of Idaho, where I got my degree. And their first game was my last semester, and I didn't know it was happening until it was too late. So I didn't get to play as a player. And so we came back the next semester as NPCs. Am I breaking up? Who's breaking up?
No, you're good.
I'm good. So yeah, we came back as NPCs. We played a group they referred to as the Black Knights. We were kind of halfway between humans and zombies, and that we got blasters and could shoot zombies. But if we got tagged, we just respawned. But
Interesting.
they played with the rules where if a zombie, because this was for like week-long games, where if a zombie didn't get a tag for 48 hours, the zombie starved and was just out of the game completely.
Oh,
So tagging us counted as a feed for the zombies, and so we helped the zombies stay in the game. We helped the humans stay in the game. The zombies liked us because we stand and fight because we didn't care if we got tagged because we just respawned. The humans liked us because we'd stand and fight while they escaped, and everyone had a lot more fun.
and what blasters were you running when you first started, or do you remember your first blaster?
I do. It's Ire. Ire, it was my first blaster. The Stampede that went on to become Ire, I bought to play in that first game. I bought the Stampede and a Barricade, and then I had a Maverick. So all the best stuff. I was just loaded. And then I got into modding to slowly improve it, and well, that's how I ended up where I am now. Just started tinkering, never stopped tinkering.
Well, what's your background? I mean, you got to have some type of background, engineering or something, that got you into the tinkering part of it.
The tinkering comes from having played with Lego my entire life.
Yeah,
And then my degree is in computer science, and I've
that's right.
only recently started being able to apply that when I started doing brushless builds, and there actually was code involved on the Arduino. And at first I was kind of daunted. Oh no, it's been so long since I did any code. Will I even remember this? And then I looked at it like, oh, this is just C. I know how to do this. I got a degree in this.
Right.
And so I do have plans to build fancy brushless blasters eventually, build my own select fire circuit and write my own select fire algorithm and all that.
Nice. So, I mean, at some point you decided you wanted to create a YouTube channel. How did that evolve into Captain Xavier, the YouTube channel?
So
persona.
I've been using the title Captain Xavier since I was about 18, give or take. When I first started using the name in French class in high school, we had to pick a French name to be our name in class.
I did not know that.
Eventually we were only ever allowed to, speak French in class by third year. We could only speak French and we had to use our French names. And so I went with Xavier because it's cool. It's got an X in the name. Any name with an X in it is cooler.
That's interesting.
And then when I got into medieval recreation, I needed a character, so I became a French privateer by the name of Xavier de Normandy. And when I got knighted, he became Captain Xavier de Normandy. And then when I started doing HVZ, it just made sense to continue to use that character because now I was Captain Xavier, the commander of this group of mercenaries that was helping fight the zombie apocalypse. And so when I created my YouTube channel, I just stuck with that name because more people already knew me by that name than by my real name.
That's funny. As long as I've known you, I did not realize that it was from French class. That's funny. That's really cool.
It goes way back.
I mean, what made you want to start a YouTube channel? Like, what was the motivation behind that?
To get free stuff from Hasbro.
Fair.
That was the true original reason. When I first thought of the idea, I was like, hey, you can get sent stuff for review. I'm a penniless college student. I would like free stuff. I should do this. And then I had absolutely no idea how to start a YouTube channel. I didn't know how to edit videos. I didn't know how to do a camera. I didn't have anything like that. So it just didn't happen. I had a channel because if you've got a Google account, you've got a YouTube channel, whether you know it or not. And it wasn't until I moved away from Idaho, moved to Washington, and went to my first Pacific Northwest war, Pan War, and Walcom S7 was there. And I showed up in all of my heavy HVZ gear with my shoulder cannons and my, all of my ridiculous, absolutely absurd loadout that I had back then.
The good old days, sure.
And he's like, I have to do a video on this lunatic. And so he did a video on it. And next thing I knew, I had 750 subscribers on a YouTube channel with no videos. Just people sending messages going, show us more of the cool stuff. So I figured out how to edit videos, and now I'm here somehow. I don't know what happened in between. It's all a blur.
Somehow you're still here. Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, a lot of great content. I don't think it's any secret the influence and contribution you provided to the community throughout the years. So appreciate you for that. And I know others feel the same way too. What has really kept you in the hobby? Why do you love it so much?
The people. It really is the people, because I did medieval recreation, and that was a great community in general. I briefly looked at airsoft and just didn't like the people. I didn't enjoy their personalities, and that's obviously just that particular group. I know there are great groups of airsofters and great groups of paintballers and not nice groups of nerfers, but by far and large, the Nerf community has been the one that I enjoy, because we know that we're playing with toys. Airsofters tend to not admit that their stuff is toys, but it shoots a plastic BB. It's a toy, whereas we're fully cognizant of the fact that this is ridiculous and silly and it's toys and we're here to have fun. And I enjoy that a lot more. It also is a lot easier to tinker. It's really easy to modify your blaster to be something absurd, to go above and beyond. You can find Nerf blasters at Goodwill. I also like that you can host the wars in a public park and little kids can come play. And I like running those wars it doesn't cost any money to come to the event and have fun. You have to buy the blasters. And even then, we provide blasters, we provide darts. It's a community service in many ways. Which has kind of been the driving force of my channel for the longest time. I originally started to try to get free stuff from Hasbro, and I've only ever gotten one free thing from Hasbro. They quickly developed a dislike for me, and I absolutely understand why. That minigun was a bit much for Hasbro.
I disagree, but that was for everyone. That was for the people.
I've heard from reputable sources that they're a little salty because they had been in the development of their minigun when mine came out, and they knew it was going to make theirs look bad, and they've never quite forgiven me for that, apparently. And again, that's fair.
Well, they're apparently they're playing catch up with the rest of us here. So maybe 5 years from now we'll see that.
Their R&D cycle is probably 2 years behind.
That's right.
And so, yeah, by the time they catch up to where we are, we're 2 years ahead of them again. So, but they're making a good try at pro blasters finally, and they're actually coming out with good looking stuff. The Strife X was a fabulous blaster. The 2 new ones look like they're going to be pretty cool.
I agree.
I'm really looking forward to actually getting my hands on them. I don't think Hasbro's going to send me those. They sent me a Strife X. It's the only one they've ever sent me. I doubt they'll send me the new one. Yeah. Everyone else does. I'm here with Dart Zone. Dart Zone sends me all the cool stuff. I mean, they're hosting me at Fan Expo. That's pretty awesome with a week's notice.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's any secret that I like Dart Zone products, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah. It is geared more towards our hobby.
That's right. We'll talk a little bit more about Dart Zone in a bit, because we have some pretty exciting stuff we can talk about.
We get to play with the new toys.
That's right. That's right.
You'll find out more tomorrow.
So one thing I find really interesting, and I actually admire this. I don't think I've ever told you this, but there definitely was an evolution with yourself that I saw that you made public of how you approached the way that you played, especially when it came to HVZ and kind of how you presented yourself. And I thought that was great. And I thought that was great for the community to say, it's okay to if you want to do this, but also check out this alternative way that may be a little bit more conducive to our community in general and kind of the message we're trying to go for. And, that message was that you had this LARP persona that you had, and you created this auxiliary and created this whole game to have this fun, basically, that you went to these events for HVZ and stuff. And then over time, you kind of evolved and kind of adapted. But that adaptation, and for the reason, I think that's great. And that's something I'd love to, I think people would enjoy hearing about that, because it's been a while since that. So, but the transition from, LARPing, milsimish, not necessarily milsimish, but from the auxiliary, and then kind of how you're approaching taking it, now with the bright camos and things like that. So,
yeah. So like I said, I started in medieval recreation, and I was a mercenary there. And I eventually had a mercenary company, and at one point, my private army was more powerful than the combined armies of all of the kingdoms of the Pacific Northwest. So I had a lot of experience leading troops, and I'd always wanted to be in the military, but by the time I was ready to, I'd already ruined both of my knees and my back, and they wouldn't take me. And so doing it through the medieval stuff was my living vicariously. I always wanted to be a soldier, and I never going to really get to, so this is what I'll do instead. And then when we started HVZ, I already had the mercenary company. At that point, we had actually incorporated as an actual private security company. So we had all of the gear, we had all the tactical gear, but it was, of course, all black tactical, which in Eastern Washington in around 2011, that was okay. The world has changed since then. I can't even imagine wearing full black tack onto a campus today. I just wouldn't be able to even consider it. But we did the first couple of events I went to. The first End War we went in full black tactical gear. And then at some point, it just kind of struck me that this isn't okay anymore, that we got to shift this. And then I looked into it, and it turns out there was a perfectly good orange camo. Like, well, my colors are orange and black. Let's just, instead of going black and orange, black with orange accents, let's go orange with black accents and make my primary color orange and the secondary color black. And so I've managed to find a black Molly vest. I got black camo. Black boonie or orange camo, orange Molly vest, orange boonie cap. My blasters are now primarily orange instead of being primarily black with orange accents. And it turns out that same company that made that orange camo makes camo in pretty much every color: red, blue, pink, yellow, green, bright neon greens. And so every event I go to, we're seeing more and more of that same pair of pants, but in different colors. So you have a whole squad show up, and they're all pink and purple and lime green, and another group will have the blues and the purples, and it screams Nerf, which is good, because we don't want to be screaming school shooter for very obvious reasons. And brightly colored camo, brightly colored blasters, not only is it safer for us, safer for the community, but it's just more Nerf. And it's not like there isn't precedent for, because you can still be awesome, you can still be badass. Because if you look at the Mandalorians, they're all brightly colored, and every single one of them is a different color, and they are amongst the most, the highly regarded badasses in all of sci-fi fandom. And so that's what we were going for, is bright colors, but be distinct, be you, be unique, have fun with it, but make it clear that, yeah, this is silly, this is fun, this is a game. And the same thing kind of happened with the way the auxiliary went. The first event where I kind of ended up using the auxiliary was Ragnar Oktoberfest 2018, and it was still one of the best HVZs I've ever been to. By far the best last stand I've ever been involved in. And so I decided I wanted to go to more of these big events, and I wanted to have troops to lead, because that's what I like doing. It's what I've been doing for, the medieval recreation for a decade before I got into Nerf. And so I wanted to bring that with me. And so I, posted, okay, I'm going to be going to events. If you're going to an event and you want to be in part of my squad, I'm going to start organizing it. And it very, very quickly got out of hand and went in directions I didn't want it to go. It got real culty real quick, which was not what I wanted, not what was good for the hobby. There was a lot of problems with how that very quickly escalated and snowballed and got out of hand. And so eventually, during the pandemic, when everyone was, on their last nerve and things were getting frayed, and we were just having too much trouble in the online community because we weren't ever able to meet in person. This is an organization that was intended to, it was around meeting up and actually going to events, and it was never happening, and it just started to fray. And so we scaled it back and separated the auxiliary from that community. That eventually went on to become, fun. The Federation of United Nerfers still exists. There's still a Discord. There's still Facebook. They still do stuff. But the actual auxiliary side, the slightly militia feel, which a lot of people, find don't like the milsim aspect, like you said. That's gone back into being private. If I go to events, and there's going to be people there, we do still organize. We do still do what we did before, but we do it a lot less in everyone's face. And I know a lot of people find that to be a little more better for the community again. So that's where I am today. This year, I took basically the whole year off from going to big events. Or if I do go to a big event, I haven't been doing the whole auxiliary squad thing. Next year, I definitely do plan to go to more events, and I will be calling up the auxiliary again, and we'll be getting back into doing things the way that I enjoy doing it, because I like having an organized squad that knows what they're doing, that has a command structure and has some level of professionalism. I enjoy that. Not everybody does, like you said. Not everyone wants to play that way, and that's absolutely fine. A lot of people love the chaos and the panic that comes with being just a random group of humans who have no idea what's going on or how to defend themselves, and knowing they're eventually going to get wiped out and it's going to be glorious. And if that's how you like playing, then that is absolutely how you should be playing. You shouldn't be forcing yourself to play a certain way because, well, Captain Xavier does it this way, but if you don't enjoy it, don't do it that way. That would be silly. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had the opportunity to watch you and the auxiliary and do HVZ together, and I got to say, if you guys haven't, the audience, if you guys haven't had a chance to see it in person, it's a lot of fun to watch. So, highly recommend if you ever get a chance to come to these events. Definitely check out how Captain Xavier rolls at these HVZ events. So. I feel like I've been the one asking questions. Do you have any questions? Does the audience have any questions? If we have any questions from the audience, maybe did we ever get the phone number, Will? No. Maybe we'll message the man. Someone message the man behind the curtain and see if we can get the number up there for call-ins. Yeah. Okay. So tell us. What are you doing? What are you doing here in Denver with Dart Zone?
Am I back?
You're back.
I poked the wrong button.
You're good. Yeah. So we are here in Denver doing the Fan Expo with Dart Zone. But we got a little surprise. We got to a sneak peek at something, didn't we?
Yeah, we got to play with some new stuff that, like I said, you'll get to see it tomorrow. We're not allowed to talk too much about it, but it's pretty cool. We've seen little rumors, we've seen little hints of some of it, and then some of it we hadn't heard anything about, and just showed up and like, well, that's way cooler than I was even beginning to suspect it would be. So, right. Yeah, good stuff.
So, I mean, I guess we could tell them specifically, but we got our hands on the Dart Zone Venom, right?
We can talk about the Venom because the Venom has already showed up online. Yes, we've handled the Venom, and it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
I have certain things I'm very, very pleased about. There's some you're like, okay, I see what they did that, and others are like, okay, that's amazing. I can't believe they actually pulled that off. So yes. We both filmed stuff that will go live tomorrow at about 9:30. When the doors open at the convention, we can publish our videos. So if you're really wanting to see the new Dart Zone stuff, 9:30 tomorrow morning. That'll be 9:30 Mountain Time. Is when those videos will go live, and we'll probably do more. We might do some live stuff over the course of the weekend because we're there for 4 days. So people can ask us questions. We might do a live stream from the booth. We might do some more shorts. We might do some TikToks. Who knows? We'll answer. We'll let you know what we know, and you can ask questions, and it'll be good.
Yeah. So stay tuned for tomorrow in the morning. We'll release some fun stuff for everyone. So what has been your favorite modification that you've done on a blaster, or just in general?
At this point, I think my go-to is still my smart gun, my RMAT M56 smart gun from the movie Aliens. That was one that I built. The minigun, had a backpack-fed minigun that had a built-in rocket launcher. Like, well, where do you go up from there? What's the next step up? You've got the Terminator's weapon. What do you build now to escalate? And what was always on the top of the list was to build a smart gun. But for the longest time, I had no idea where to even start because I didn't have 3D printers back then. There wasn't a really good blaster to build it out of. The one I was planning was actually I was going to use a Centurion because that was the closest thing I could get to an MG42, which is what the smart gun was built out of. But then the new Star Wars sequels came out, and one of the blasters that they released as part of that was the deluxe First Order Stormtrooper blaster, which was an MG42. So
right.
that became the base core of the blaster because now I had an MG42 or the receiver, and it was by then I also had 3D printers, so I 3D printed all the parts I needed or used PVC pipe and metal and a lot of the fabrication stuff I did from my medieval recreation days to build the armor because I made my own armor back when I fought, and so making the armor for that outfit was really simple. And that my first brushless build. It does have uses brushless motors, uses just a standard out of dart style pusher for feeds from a proton pack, a custom proton pack that holds 1,800 rounds. Later, when I got better at programming Arduino, I added more features. So there is now a button I can push that will make the FPS go from 120 to about 140. It's got an overdrive. Fires about 15 rounds a second, and I can mount a camera to it that actually feeds to a heads-up display, so I can see what the gun sees, so I can shoot around corners, and that's still my favorite. One of my goals for this weekend, I am hoping I can hunt down Adam Savage and show him my smart gun, because I think he would enjoy that.
I can say from experience, I think he's been at every fan expo we've been to so far. So
he's here. I know he's here.
Okay, so
the question is, can I hunt him down and get 5 minutes of his time?
We are gonna hunt Adam Savage down. Then that is our mission for the weekend, then for sure. And that'll be a lot of fun. What has been your least favorite modification to do?
Least favorite,
or one that you're just kind of like, why? Why did
Stravens? Stravens are an abomination before the Lord. I've only ever seen one Straven that I felt was done right, because most of the time all they've done is cut up a Raven and used it as a stock on a Strife. There are perfectly good stocks that you can put on Strifes that don't require you to destroy a Raven. However, I've seen one person that made it so the blaster actually fired from the Raven, and the Strife flywheel cage was an afterburner.
Interesting.
So instead of it just being a Strife with a Raven stock, it was a Raven with a Strife as an afterburner. And it's usually the way people line up the stock, it doesn't allow you to do that. The barrels don't line up. But this particular one was done just a little bit different, and the two flywheel cages actually aligned, and so it went through both flywheel cages, and you actually use the Raven's magazine well. And that I fully and utterly approve of and think it was a really cool idea. And I've also seen ones where people did, like, the Raven had been run over by a car and the front end was completely crushed, and they cut it up and used it as a string. You're like, okay, well, that's fine. You've saved it as opposed to killing it. But I know people really like them and they look really cool. And mostly it's just my curmudgeon-y old get off my lawn with your Straven. I don't actually have a real beef with them, but you have to have something that you pretend to dislike or you're not cool.
That's all right. So this question, I guess, goes for the audience as well. What has been your favorite modification that you guys have done, and what has been your least favorite modification that you have done? Also, before we do our sneak peeks for the new Dart Zone blasters tomorrow, what do you hope to see on the Venom as far as what you've seen already, or what would you like to see, or what do you expect? So if you have any comments on favorite mod, least favorite mod, or the Venom, go ahead and drop those down in the chat. Very curious to see what everyone has to say about that.
Yeah.
What was that, Daffy? Okay. I guess we don't have the phone lines available currently. Okay, and we'll feature your questions as they come through
Yeah.
the live chat. So,
You can ask us all sorts of questions. We will probably not give you answers until tomorrow, or we'll give you frustratingly vague answers. Like,
very vague.
yes, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
It does fire darts. I can tell you
Their
that.
darts come out of it when you pull the trigger,
Yes.
and it's green.
Yes. Yes. So let's see. Are there any blasters currently that you are that are your go-to blasters that you're absolutely in love with that you are using on a regular basis when you go to events these days?
Yes. So I was recently sent the All 160 by Misguided Creations, I believe are the ones who created that one. And I still absolutely love that one. Still one of the most accurate blasters I've ever had. It's not the most powerful. So it's coming in at around 160, which is what the name suggests. There are springs that'll get it up higher, but then the prime isn't as nice. But absolutely ridiculously accurate. The last time I took it to I took it to a competitive game, and we were doing 3v3 or 4v4 on a really long field, and I was pegging shots from one side of the field to the other, but I didn't have the power in the blaster to shoot straight from one side of the field to the other, so I was arcing it at a 45-degree angle and still dropping darts on people's heads.
Nice.
From across the field. Nice. Isaac can attest to that. I got him several times where he's just like, where did that dart come from? And I'm on the other side of the field going, woo-hoo. Wizard build.
Wizard build asked us what about the Venom?
Mag capacity. It's good, is what it is.
Yes.
Yes. You will be it is good magazine compatibility.
You will be.
As Derek told us, what Derek told us when he wasn't able to tell us anything is they made the blaster do the thing they really thought we wanted it to do.
Yeah. You will be pleasantly happy with the compatibility. Yes. Yeah. Let's see, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, we were talking about blast. Have you had a chance to see Gavin Fuzzy's SBL2 in action? I've seen it, and I've heard.
I used it at the same event, and as a result, while at the event, I messaged Gavin Fuzzy and said, "Hey, how do I get me one of these?"
Yep.
So mine is being built. I will have an SBL too.
So I believe Boomstick Mods actually retired his Harrier or Seagull in exchange for the SBL2. He liked it that much, which is saying a lot because I am dead over heels in love with both of those blasters. So that's saying a lot if the SBL, especially coming from Boomstick, if he's willing to replace those blasters with the SBL2. So if anyone in the audience has had a chance to check out the SBL2, let us know. Very curious to your experience. I hear nothing but good things about it. So,
yeah, my go-to for HVZ is still my FDL3 with my side-mounted Jupiter.
That's solid.
It needs names. They need names, and people have given me some suggestions. There are a couple of good ones. A couple of others like that. What? No, that's what? No. But it has the way I decide whether a blaster needs a name. If I prefer to wait until my blaster has actually earned a name in combat, because otherwise you make a blaster, you name it, Soul Reaver 9000, and then you take it onto the field and everyone's all hyped up about Soul Reaver 9000, and then you pull the trigger and it jams, and it will never recover from that reputation. And so it needs to earn the reputation of being an incredible blaster before you give it an ostentatious name, in my opinion. Because giving it an ostentatious name before it's proven itself is just a really good way to hear the gods laugh.
All right. Have you seen the free runner?
No.
Yeah. So I saw it on Facebook. I forget who posted it. But it's a flywheel pistol. I think it's hitting around 130 or 120 for HVZ, but it is pretty It is pretty good looking. If anyone else in the chat has had a chance to check out or seen the free runner, go ahead and let us know about
I'll have
that
to
if you
look
have the
that one up.
specs on there.
I do.
Because
I am a
I
fan
saw
of
that and I'm
stealth
very
little
excited
pistols.
about that if that becomes available. The other things I think that we're waiting on this month specifically are the Siren Blasters to be released to the public.
Yep. I pre-ordered mine
I did
when they
too.
first went live. I've played with them. A couple of them are very impressive. Others, nary so much. The Flywheeler is really good.
So the Flywheeler, we have a suspicion. I don't know if it's true or not, but from the internals we saw, they look like Band Blaster cages or Banshee cages and wheels and motors. So I'm wondering if there's any affiliation that's going on there, but we'll see. That would be pretty interesting if that is the case. But I pre-ordered mine. I'm waiting for them to be delivered, and if it's as good as it says it is, I'm kind of excited and looking forward to it. I don't know about you, but on paper it looks amazing, right?
Yeah, the Flywheeler was really good. The pistol was an ergonomic nightmare.
Wacom's broke, right?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. I thought
But
I
I got
saw
to
that
see
was broke.
Fluxes, and yeah, Fluxes was a bit of an ergonomic mess. There isn't a good priming handle. Like there's not a lot of T-pull or anything. It's a ring that's not big enough for adult fingers. It's a weird choice. Power is there. It's just the ergo is weird.
Right.
The Springer, the big Springer, has one feature that I have never seen on any other spring-powered blaster that anyone
It's
has.
the tuning.
The ability to set the prime. Yeah, that it has multiple
It's like a switch
layers
or
of
something.
catch. The way it works is it's got multiple layers of catch, and so the further back you prime it, the stronger it's going to be. But you can only prime it if you only prime it halfway. It'll still catch halfway and then give you half the power. And there's
Interesting.
a dial that allows you to set how far it'll go if you pull it all the way back.
That's how it works.
And all that is just a stop for the prime. You could do it to different degrees without that, but you might not always get it to the exact same spot. And so there's 3 settings on there that you can set it to, and that's what it'll go. And that's just a brilliant idea. I've never seen that on any blaster before. It'd be interesting if anyone decides to develop that, or if it's decided it's too gimmicky or what. But it's just something new. Anytime you see something new in the hobby, it's like, well, that's new. If it turns out it's not actually good, well, that's something we find out eventually. But you can't say it's not new.
And since you had a chance to try the Flywheeler, I do have a question. Is it select fire, and can you change rate of fire and performance power?
I know you can change rate of fire. I don't remember if you can change the FPS, but I know you can change how fast the rate of fire is.
Okay.
I want to say it had 2 dials, 1 for each, but I don't remember now. And I think it's only full auto.
It's only full auto. Okay, interesting. Well, I guess we'll have to wait till mid-July is what the website said, I guess, when estimated delivery or shipment would be made. But
they'll show up eventually, I'm sure.
I guess.
So it's just really neat to see another company jumping straight into the high performance. And the fact that they're not, magnificent on their first try is, in my opinion, understandable, because they're coming from either gel blasters or paintball or airsoft or something, is what the company usually does.
Yeah, that's right.
And so this was, their foray into another thing, kind of like Game Face did with the Game Face Prime.
Right.
And the other one they did that was unfortunately a flop. Hasbro's finally getting into pro level stuff. X-Shot is doing pro level stuff. Dart Zone has pretty much always been pro level stuff.
Yeah.
They've got their non-pro stuff, but they've got a huge pro line, and even their non-truly pro line is still getting pretty pro at this point.
Their max line for sure.
Yeah, the max line, because the Nexus Pro X, even though it's got pro in the name, isn't actually part of the pro line. It's part of the max line, but it's hitting 200 out of the box. And that's just incredible that, you can get that and for $50.
On the
Yeah,
store
I mean,
shelf.
once upon a time, getting a blaster to hit over 100 FPS was considered a magnificent feat of engineering, and now we have trouble getting them under 120.
Right.
You know, and it's just a marvelous time to be in the hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned X Shot a second ago, but they're coming out with another Pro Blaster as well.
Yep.
What was the name of that one? I forgot.
I don't remember. I only saw it once or twice, but yeah, it's another bullpup, but it's top prime instead of pump prime, which is cool. Some people prefer that. A lot of people prefer a top prime for some reason. They just like the ergo.
But again, probably like another Pro Blaster for $30 or something like that. So
Yeah, that was their thing. I mean, theirs was the cheapest by far. Yeah, and the quality reflected that in some ways. The plunger tubes being broken in the box, from the manufacturer, the plunger's broken. But it didn't take us, or the plunger tubes being broken, but it didn't take us long to develop aluminum plunger tubes and upgrade springs. And the plastic feels really cheap to me, but I haven't seen, I mean, mine hasn't broken. It just feels like it's going to shatter. I've got two of them now, one heavily modded, one lightly modded, just to see. But yeah, the fact that you could buy it for $30 and then for $30 of upgrade parts, the thing would hit in the 260s, 250s is nuts. That
and then
truly makes the hobby accessible in a way that it wasn't before.
Yeah, absolutely. What about oh gosh, what did I see that looked interesting? The Maximus coming out from Dart Zone. The new semi-auto from Adventure Force that they'll be
They're new iteration on the Strife.
Yeah.
First they had the Spectrum.
Yep, Spectrum.
And then the Thunderbolt, and now the Maxim. I like them because each one of those has been getting better than the previous one.
Yeah,
which is really, really nice. I know every time they come out with another one, everyone decides, "Oh, this is the Strife killer." And you're like, the reason that they aren't is the Strife was on shelves for 7, 8, 9 years, and so the amount of R&D we have in them, in kits and cages and cosmetic kits and all of that. Whereas these, they come out with a new one every year, every 2 years. And they're just not around long enough for the same amount of R&D to go into them for them to really get to the level that you can get a Strife to. And then the Strife X came out, and while it wasn't exactly like a Strife, it could use a lot of the same stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely get it. I love that they have those because there's always a need for a good semi-automatic magazine-fed blaster. Those, in my opinion, are the best blasters for HVZ. That's why my primary for HVZ is a semi-automatic FDL3 instead of a burst or select fire. Is you only need one dart to tag a zombie. Why put 3? You're just wasting ammo. So, having a good predecessor to the Strife, because Strifes aren't available on shelves anymore. They were forever, but they aren't anymore. So the fact that Dart Zone continues to put out really good semi-automatic magazine-fed blasters keeps that alive.
How do you see the new line of Nerf Hasbro blasters and ammo fitting into the ecosystem and clubs and everything? How do you see the impact of what Nerf is doing, Hasbro's doing with their new lineup in darts?
Hasbro needs to quit trying to shove new ammo types down our throat. We didn't take it with Ultra. We didn't take it with Hyper. Because, Rival was extremely successful. That was a new ammo type. And when it first came out, people had the same trepidation about a new ammo type that we did as before. Well, it won't work in any of my current blasters. The ammo is more expensive. Do I really want to invest in this? And then things like the Proton Pack came out, and the Nemesis, and the Prometheus. And we recognized the obscene capacity that Rival gives you and the potential obscene rate of fire And you can justify that rate of fire because you have an obscene capacity. We can make a blaster that fires 18 darts a second, but then your magazine's empty in a second. Whereas I can build a proton pack that fires 18 rounds a second, and I'll still have 3 rounds of continuous fire because I have 1,800 rounds in my tank. So that worked because it gave us something we didn't have before. Same reason Mega managed to really kind of stick around, because it was a big ammo type that was something new that we could use as a special ammo type, and it was really obvious that it was Mega because it was this massive red dart. Same thing with Demolisher rockets or even Mega XL. It was something that was genuinely different and could be used as a new ammo type. But Hyper and Ultra don't give us either of those, really. Hyper could potentially have the capacity, but it doesn't work well in a hopper because it tends to stick together. And it's such a small ammo that it gets lost a lot easier. And so a lot of clubs don't want to have it because it's so hard to clean up afterwards. Hyper or Ultra didn't really give us anything. It is a better dart in a lot of ways if you have the blaster that fires it right. But Hasbro has never produced the blaster that fires it right. And so it wasn't giving us anything new, and so there was no reason for us to adopt it. And so it just kind of fizzled out. And now they're really trying to push the new, N series darts. They're slightly smaller than Hyper. They're slightly larger than N Strike, so they're not compatible with all of our existing stuff. And what's the reason for us to adopt it? What does it give us that regular darts didn't? It isn't really any more accurate. Half darts are way more accurate. Regular darts are about the same. Again, if you have a really good blaster, it'll fire it better than you can get most elite darts to fire. But most of the time, we're going to be using half darts in that situation anyway. Now, there's a bunch of people trucking through, but I hope they've got food.
Is there food? Hey, knock it off up there.
No, get off my lawn.
Get off our lawn.
Now we have food. So I'm not a fan of the new darts. I picked up some of the darts to test, and there's barrel material that can fire it, and out of some flywheel blasters, it'll probably work fine if you've got a high enough or a low enough crush. But
do you see clubs or anyone kind of adopting it, or do you think people are just going to go straight to modifying it to short darts, essentially?
Well, I'm wondering, because I've heard rumors that Hasbro's
I've seen them already modified. So
yeah, I've already been sent a modified N series blaster that takes regular darts. And I've heard some people suggest that Hasbro's trying to phase out elite darts entirely in favor of this, as opposed to just being this a new kids line or something. If this is their entire new direction, that would be absolutely ridiculous. Because X-Shot's still going to be using elite darts. Dart Zone's still using elite darts. Bugsby's using elite darts. Siren's using half darts. They would be doing to themselves what Boomco did to itself. They came out with a proprietary ammo, and so nobody would adopt it, even if it was superior in most ways. Boomco darts were more accurate. They had longer range. They were way more durable, but they weren't compatible with anything. And so there was no way it was going to replace anything. And I think the biggest, if Hasbro actually does try to make that, like, this is all we're doing, we're not doing elite anymore, I think they're going to make themselves obsolete, at least in our sector of the hobby, because we've got tens of thousands of loner full-length darts, all of the clubs do, and blasters that can fire them. Nobody's going to want to have to phase that out and buy tens of thousands of N strike or N series darts and N series blasters, and then they're not going to be compatible with what people are buying at Goodwill, and it just doesn't make any sense to me unless it's meant to be a kid friendly line, and they're slightly bigger darts and they're weaker blasters or what. I don't get the marketing of that, but somebody with a really fancy desk must have thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how the N series kind of fits into the hobby space. And again, we've already seen blasters already being modified. I know, I think Luchathor, Jose,
Luchathor
he
built
already
a caliber that fires it, because they will fit in N Strike magazines.
Yeah.
So all he had to do was modify the breech.
So,
and like I said, flywheelers, they should work in some flywheelers just fine as long as the crush is good. The heads are super squishy, so it's not like it's going to jam your flywheelers.
Right.
It's just going to be a matter of magazines, but regular magazines.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how it fits in, if it gets adopted, or just, again, kind of like Hyper and Ultra, just kind of, that's it. But we'll see. What else was interesting? Anything else interesting that you've seen? I got my hands on a gin, which is a lot of fun. The gin. If
I got
anyone
a
else has
gin
had it,
recently as well.
what do you
Um,
think? It's a lot of fun, right?
it is. It is a lot of fun. And it was. I'm glad that I held off on my review until I talked to the designer a little bit, because at first I wasn't impressed, but that was because I was comparing it to things like an FDL3 and an
Right.
SBF and a Pew Pew, and the whole point of it is it isn't that, it's brushless on a budget, so it's half the price of any of those.
Yeah.
And so you're going to expect less performance because it is that much cheaper, but you still get select fire. You still get the ability to change the FPS to, within 10 FPS of what you want really easily. But you don't have the expense of, an SBF or an FDL, because FDLs are, impossible to find anymore, and SBFs are not cheap, and Pew Pews you have to, win a lottery to get one.
Momentums and
Yeah. So I love the idea of a budget brushless build, and one that's so incredibly modular because it's built on Flycore, and so you can put whatever motors you want, you can put whatever wheels you want. It's very, very, very customizable and very easy to work with. It's a handful of screws, and the whole thing comes apart very easily. And so that was really, really nice. There is also some even more budget brushless options that may be coming out soon. I'm hoping to get the prototypes. I've played with the prototypes from Xbox Games. Has put together his own take on a really, really budget brushless motors or brushless builds. It has even fewer features than the Jin does, but it has the most important features, I feel. So looking forward to seeing those. I'm on his list of people who are going to get prototypes because he lives 15 minutes from me. Yeah, I forgot to mention him. He's another one of the notables from the Pacific Northwest.
That's
Xbox
right.
Games is in our
That's
area.
right.
He hosts game nouns. He comes to my games.
And then I think we're almost at that time, but we'll wrap it up in a second. But another one I wanted to mention that I got a chance to get myself from Out of Darts was the BK2S, which I am just absolutely in love with. The new AEB shooting around 170 FPS, 160 FPS with a B car on it. But I mean, it's I think all the other, because I have a 76, I have inverted scales, and those are great for 200 plus. But we have, our cap is 160 at most of our clubs. So now I can actually have an AEB that is reliable and easy. If it gets jammed, it's got sensors on it. It's easy to get the jams out. I'm having a lot of fun with the BK2S. If anyone gets a chance, I ordered another one actually as a backup should anything happen to the first one I got here. So if you get a chance,
I need to get in. I need to get into the AEB world because my first blaster was a Stampede, still
Right.
my favorite blaster, and I have an inverted scales, but I don't have any of the rest of them. And I need to get my hands on I'd like to get in, or no, I have a Soldier 70, the 76.
The 76 has been great for me, honestly.
Yeah, and I've seen some really cool kits that make it look less like a problematic weapon. Somebody had one that made it into a bullpup that was actually really cool looking.
I saw. Yeah, and then the 77's coming out. I did hear the Sweetheart Storm did have some issues with it, but I guess there's a new version of that coming out as well. And a bullpup thing. It looks more like the I think it was the Charger or Challenger originally, but it looks sort of like that. So if they can get that working, that'd be great. But yeah, I think they're, at least with the BK1S and 2S, it seems like they're definitely on the right track if they can just kind of refine that specifically for foam playing instead of the airsoft gearbox that they're working with. But
yeah,
pretty fun stuff. So, but yeah. Anything else? I mean, we're here in Denver. We're hanging out. Check us out at the Dart Zone booth, booth 203.
Stay tuned tomorrow to see all the cool stuff. We've both got videos filmed that will go live 9:30 Mountain Time. And then we'll be doing stuff all weekend, linking with them more, answering questions that come up, and filming short videos and running amok.
And where can people find? People can find you on. Where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube as Captain Xavier. You can find me on TikTok as Captain Xavier Nerf. You can find me on Instagram as Captain Xavier Nerf, though I rarely put anything on either of those. I need to do more TikToks. I will hopefully do some TikToks this weekend.
We'll force you.
yeah. We'll get some more content going. But if you search Captain Xavier, you'll find me. Especially if you put Captain Xavier and Nerf, then you'll definitely find me.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure. Hold on. I meant to do this a while back ago before we started right around at the beginning of the stream. But I just walked around. I literally just walked around in a whole circle. But just to give you guys some context. Oh, this is where the party's at.
He's found me.
How's this work?
No. That was all kind of weird echo.
That is. Anyways,
these folks over here are eating all the food, and I'm gonna murder one of them.
Oh.
Anyway,
Anyway,
like they know me.
it is time for me to go and get some of this food since we've been traveling all day. But really appreciate everyone tuning in for this impromptu, improvised episode of the Foam Zone. Let me get this lighting back. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Actually, I may have to take a week off. We'll have to discuss that. But we'll be back next week with another episode of Get Off My Lawn with Captain Xavier and Al the Geek, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on the World Foam Alliance YouTube, 8 p.m. next Wednesday for that. Don't forget to hit us with that thumbs up and thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and register yourself and your group on the worldfoamalliance.org website. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and don't forget to guard sweep and free.